Hey everyone, in today's video I'll show you how to make a vertical fan that turns on when the player is above it and boosts the player up to the platform.
Game Dev Journey.
Right, now that we have a level to put the fans in, let's get into the process of making the fans. In the Pixel Adventure folder, in the Assets folder, Traps, you'll find a folder called Fan. So drag that into our file system in Godot and we will now have a fan folder with two fans off and on. So let's go ahead and create the vertical fan. So create a new scene. Let's create a area 2D as the root. Let's rename it to vertical fan. Let's give it a collision shape. We'll use a rectangle shape. And let's give it an animated sprite 2D with sprite frames. And let's rename the default to off and drag in the off animation. And let's fit the collision shape to fit the fan. Right, now that we've added the off animation, let's add a new animation and rename it to on. We will go and find the sprite sheet. There's the on sprite sheet. We have 4 horizontal frames and only 1 vertical frame. So let's select them, add them. There we go. Now let's set the FPS to 15. Let's set autoplay to on, and looping is also on. Now, in order to know that the fan is on, besides the fact that we'll see the fan spinning, we're going to have some air particles shooting up. So let's go ahead and add a GPU particles 2D node. And let's set emitting to on. Let's make the amount 16. And let's make the lifetime 5 seconds. And set the randomness to 0.2. Let's enable trails and set the lifetime to 0.5. You can play with all of these numbers. This is just what I found looks good. Now let's add a particle process material. Let's add a new particle process material. And there you can see the trails going downwards already. Let's expand this and let's set the emission type. If we expand spawn and we expand position, let's just set the emission shape to box. And there, now you can see it's dividing up a bit better. Let's go to velocity and make a few changes here. Let's set the direction to 0 on the X and -1 on the Y, so it's going upwards. It won't go up until we change gravity. Let's reduce the spread here to 0 and let's set the initial velocity between 100 and 150. And now let's go to the accelerations over here. And let's set gravity to 0. And now we should have them only going up. There we go. Let's expand the display property and expand color curves. You can leave them as white trails, but let's add an alpha curve so that they fade out. So let's make a new curve texture, expand it over here, and within it we'll add a new curve. We can click on the curve, and I'm going to set the preset to ease out, and there you can see they're already quite faded. And this means that these kind of wind lines will fade out over time. Let's make a few more changes, slight changes to the collision shape node, just to make sure that it's in the right place. Let's have a look at it over there, and let's expand this rectangle. Let's set the size to 34, and let's set the vertical size to 180. And what this means is this is the area that's detecting when the player is in it, but obviously you want to move this up. You can do it by eye, or you can use the exact numbers that I've got here, because if we go to the transform and we set the Y position to -90, that's probably perfect right there. So once the player enters this area, they'll be in the wind and they'll be suspended by the fan. Okay, let's add a script to the vertical fan, and let's put it in our scripts folder. And we need access to those particles, and we need access to the animated sprite. So let's create ready variables for those. So let's grab the particles here and press Control and release, and grab the animated sprite and press Control and release. So we have references for those. And then let's create a variable for the upward force. And that can be an export variable because we might want to change it as we test. So let's say upward force, and let's set it to -30. And let's create another variable to represent the player, which we haven't grabbed yet. We'll grab that player a little bit later on. Let's just make a small change, design change to our fan. If we go to the particles, let's just set emitting to off, so they're not initially emitting. And if you go to the animated sprite, for the on animation, turn off autoplay and turn off looping. So by default, the fan is off. And the reason for this is I want the way I want the game to be is the fan is off. When the player steps over the fan, it turns on, blows the player up, so they get boosted up, and then it turns off again. So now if we go to the script for the fan, after our variables, let's add a signal. So if we go to the vertical fan, let's go to the signals, let's connect the body entered signal, connect that, and a body exited signal, because we want to detect when the player is over the fan and when they've left the fan. Now, when they are over the fan, we can always check if it is the player. So we go body.is in group player. And if it is the player, then we'll assign our variable above us to the body. And then we can turn the fan on. So we can say animated sprites.play, and we'll play the on animation, and we can set the particles to emit. And for the body exited function, we'll do the reverse. So when the player leaves the fan area, we set the body to null, so there's no player anymore. We play the off animation, and we do not emit the particles. Now, in our physics process, so function underscore physics, all we need to do is, if there is a player over that fan, then we can call the player's push upwards function and provide the upward force. So now this obviously does not exist in the player. We would have to go and create it. So if we go to our fan level, we go to the player, we go to the script, right at the bottom here, I've gone ahead and made it already. We can say function push upward, provide the vertical force, and we set the player's Y velocity to increase by that vertical force. With that in place, the fan should give us a quick boost up to the platform and then turn off again. So we can go ahead and test that. So go to the fan level and we run it. We can see that the fan is off, but if we go, let's just see, we've got an error push upwards. It's probably a spelling mistake on my part. Push upwards. We go to the player script. What is it called? Let's just copy it exactly. Push upward. Upward, not upwards. Okay, so now if we go to the fan level and we run it, the fan is off, no particles emitted, but if we go over it, we get that boost up. There go the particles, and now the fan is off again. But if we go over it, as soon as we land, we get pushed up again. And that's how to create a vertical fan. Next up, we'll see how to create a horizontal fan.